Hi everyone, this is MegamanJoe and welcome to my video on why you should play the Yakuza series. The first Yakuza game was released in Japan in 2005 and in the West the following year. In the 13 years since, it has seen 7 mainline releases with an upcoming 8th, not including remakes, and 5 spin-offs with 2 more in development, an online game and one based on the manga and anime Fist of the North Star, which I'm very, very excited for. Please localize it, Sega, please. Despite its huge popularity in its home country of Japan, it's always been more of a niche title over here in the West, only really gaining something of a following that extends beyond cult status in the last few years. It's set in modern-day Japan and follows a huge selection of characters of a range of ages. Personally, I think it's one of the best series out there and would love it to gain a bigger following over here, so here we go with just a few of the reasons you should be playing the Yakuza series. Firstly, I got to talk about the story. The main protagonist of the series is named Kazuma Kiryu, an ex-Yakuza who, at the start of the very first game, was sent to prison for a crime he didn't commit to protect his friend Akira Nishikiyama from going down for it. When he's released 10 years later, he discovers that a lot has changed, and winds up embroiled in a race to both find a massive amount of money that everyone is after, and protect a young girl, who's the daughter of his childhood friend. If I talk too much beyond this about the first or any other game in the series, we'll be entering spoiler territory, but just know, things escalate and escalate throughout each game while having fantastically original stories that get you invested in each character's motivations and beliefs, and they really egg you on to reach the conclusion. They're so well written that you can't help but get hyped for each major event. A lot of this really comes down to the characters though, and how well each one is written, and how unique each one is. The Yakuza series has a ton of fantastic characters, from the kind yet mean-looking Kazuma, to the brawl-loving Yakuza Goro Majima, to the wonderfully intricate Nishikiyama. In fact, one of the best parts of Yakuza is how damn good the villains of each game are. In Yakuza 0, a prequel set in the 80s, you really get a feel for how close Kazuma and Nishiki are as friends, having grown up together in an orphanage. Come the events of Yakuza 1, Nishiki, having watched his friend take the fall for his mistake, has changed hugely, determined not to need to rely on anyone ever again and distancing himself from Kazuma. This shift in character is handled so well, so believably, that it's hard not to feel for him as a character, and really makes events in the first game involving him feel that much more important, both to the characters in-game and as the player watching these events unfold. Yakuza 0 is also fantastic in adding to the wonderful character development, as it shows how each character got to where they are by the time the original game begins. And in particular, it shows just how well Kazuma and Nishikiyama got on before their falling out at the beginning of the first game. This is evidenced not just in cutscenes, but also in gameplay, in particular the karaoke minigame, with the background content showing them singing together and playing in a band together, as a joke. The later games also have more protagonists besides Kazuma, each wonderful in their own right and wholly unique, which frankly is pretty impressive given the vast number of characters in this series. Next up, I have to talk about the city the games take place in, practically a character unto itself. Each game takes place in the fictional city of Kamurocho, based loosely on Tokyo's red light district, although some of the later games do branch out and visit other cities. It's a sizable open world filled with many things to do, sights to see, and a diverse range of weird and wonderful people who may or may not have a ridiculous number of amazing side quests for you to do. The layout of the town stays virtually identical throughout the series, but as it goes on and time passes, you can see how it evolves, with shops, bars and restaurants changing hands regularly. It feels like a genuine place with its own life and soul, and you'll come to know each street like the back of your hand by the time you're finished with it. Now then, the meat and potatoes of the series, the gameplay. Yakuza is quite exceptional in that it really isn't much like anything else out there. The closest thing I can think of, at least in terms of city exploration, is Shenmue. Outside of that, it's a third-person action brawler packed with minigames like karaoke and arcade cabinets like Virtua Fighter and Outrun. Each game has different arcade machines as time progresses and the city evolves. Along with the city, each game evolves the combat, progressively getting more and more satisfying to play. You have your regular light and heavy attacks, grapples, the usual, but you also have what are known as heat attacks. These are tied to your heat meter underneath your health bar and allow you to perform special attacks based on your position in the area, and in the later games with the introduction of different fighting styles, which style you're using, and circumstance in addition to positioning. For example, while using the Brawler style, activating a heat attack just before an enemy connects, you can counter his fist with your elbow and break his fingers. They're beautifully brutal moves, designed to incapacitate and look flourishy and fantastic. It's a joy to play and oh so satisfying when you pull off something amazing. In the soon-to-be-released in the West Yakuza 6, they've implemented ragdolls to both player and enemies, making your moves feel even more powerful. I've never been so impressed by a man flying into a series of bikes and ragdolling all over them. This isn't all to say that the series is without its flaws, however. The pacing can occasionally be a little off in the middle of the games, with side stories dragging on a little too long and taking some of the focus away from the main story. This particular problem is mainly in Yakuza 0, but to a lesser extent appears in the others too. Some of the cutscenes can drag on as well, taking too long to really get to the meat of the story in the scene. It can ruin the immersion at that point. However, neither of these problems appear very often, and never during important story scenes. Anyway, overall these games are fantastic, with amazing stories, wonderful characters, and some of the most satisfying combat I've ever experienced. Each game has a wonderful individual story and overarching story throughout the series. You can easily jump in with any game in the series and not feel like you've missed too much, although with both 0 and the remake of 1, Kiwami, out on PS4 right now, there's no better place to start and experience a game that really couldn't exist within any other medium. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Even share it if you want. Every little thing helps me grow the channel and bring you guys better content. See you next time!